everyone, welcome to the show. My name is Amanda Ostrander. I am a teacher turned homeschool mom, and this is Raising A to Z, a place where we talk about all things homeschooling. And today I'm going to be doing the third video in my balance series, talking about balancing homeschooling and work. This is the third video in this balance series. I've already done a video on balancing homeschool and family life, balancing being a teacher and a parent, and today we're going to talk about balancing homeschooling your kids and working either out of the house or part-time or work from home, right? Like, how do you do that? And give you some tips on how to make that work. But if you have other questions or things that you're like, hey, I'm really struggling to find the balance in this, leave it down below. I can always do a second part to this series, and I'm very happy to answer those questions. So I want to tell you a story. Back 5 years ago, pre-pandemic, I went to a Mompreneur conference. Okay, so it was like a mom's conference where everyone there were moms who ran businesses or businesses directed at moms. It was like a big social blog marketing kind of conference, right? And it was great. I learned so much. Loved it. Learned about SEO and all kinds of things that I needed for my life, my business, right? And one of the things that we did while we were there was they had these like little round table discussion groups. And so for, I think it was like a 2-hour block, we did like these like little mini, very concentrated round table discussions. So there'd be a person running it and they would be giving like basically like a mini session compared to some of the big sessions, but it was just like whoever wanted to learn about Google AdSense, you can come here and they were going to give you like a 30-minute crash course on Google AdSense, or we're going to come over here and we're going to talk about like email marketing for dummies, 30 minutes crash course. And then after 30 minutes, we'd all move around and go to a different table, right? And that person would stay there and do the same thing again, right? It was kind of a cool concept, really enjoyed it. But there was a moment that stuck out for me, and it was this, again, the whole conference is geared towards moms who run their own businesses, basically. And so I was at this table, which was a table on balancing working from home with family life, essentially. And the lady was there and she was talking about like how she runs this, she does this and she works in fashion and she works from home, and her tips were like, oh, have like an actual desk. And she had some, tips that, all right, sure. But one of the moms who was at the table with me, she was asking for help because she's like, I'm finding like I just can't find the time to work and I'm really struggling. And the lady's answer was just, well, just wait till they go to school. And she goes, well, they're in school, but it's like a preschool program and they only go like, I think it's from 9 until noon. And then I have to walk there. So it's like 30 minutes there, 30 minutes back, twice a day. And this lady was just like, well, then maybe you need to like look at getting daycare or hiring help. That might be really great option for you. And she's like, I'm just starting my business. I can't afford to hire help. And the lady's like, well, maybe you'll just have to put your business on hold for a while. And I was like, first off, that's super insensitive. But secondly, I definitely chimed in. It was like, as a homeschool mom, my kids are never leaving. And here are things that I'm doing in my working from home situation, and gave some actual practical advice to this woman of like what was working for me. And I think that's important. Nowadays, it's much more common to have people who are working from home. There's a lot more people who are running their own businesses from home. Different kinds of work are possible. And so you'll find out a lot more homeschooling parents nowadays are working even if it's part-time. So they're either running small businesses, they're working part-time from home, maybe they're working part-time hours somewhere else out of the home. But for the majority, I would say that at least 50% of the people that I know have one parent working full-time and one parent working at least part-time, if not full-time, running their own thing. Okay. And homeschooling. So how do we do this without completely losing our minds? Like, how do you work and homeschool and find the balance to do that? So let's talk about it. So what are some of the common struggles of parents who are homeschooling and working? One, it's one more thing to split your time with. You're not just homeschooling, you're not just running your household, you're also managing a work schedule and working expectations and timelines and stuff. So it's another thing to like split in terms of your attention. Some parents struggle with guilt, that they're not giving either side enough, or that they're not, doing enough for their kids because they're working, or they're not giving work enough because they're focused on their kids. There's also like a certain level of unpredictability that comes with being a parent while working, because, kids get sick, kids have, you have to go pick them up, or even if they're in school, right? Like sick kids just really throws you off when you're working. But also like there's not as much predictability when you have, work deadlines that come up that are like outside of your control, and maybe one day your kid is in a bad mood and it's just stomping around your house, and it's like really hard to focus or to be on your call when you hear angry footsteps and kids fighting upstairs, right? So there's a certain level of unpredictability that comes when you're working in the same space that you're homeschooling and living, right? Sometimes it's like, how do I find a space to homeschool? I won't even show you what this room looks like right now, because you're getting a really nice little of my bookshelves and my chair. If I'm fully honest with you, all behind this chair on the floor, all kinds of stuffed animals and toys. For some reason, the kids have a giant pile of books in this corner. There is a koala sanctuary over here that Zoe has created with actual leaves that she's found from a tree outside. So there's a dead tree in my house. So like if I had to do a client call right now, that would be very difficult. And like, just like more stressful than I think it would be if I were like to go into an office, right? There's certain levels of unpredictability when you have kids in your workspace, right? So there's a lot of things that happen that make balancing homeschooling and working more difficult. Doesn't mean it's impossible. Doesn't mean that it's just going to be different, right? I'm kind of hoping that if you've watched the last few videos that I've done on balance in this series, that you've noticed there's a little bit of a theme. And the theme is that no one's doing it all, number one. And that it's all about being intentional with your time when you can devote to it. And sometimes that means some days are going to get shifted to be more school-focused days. Some days are going to be shifted to be more work-focused days. And that's okay. It's about it averaging out over the grander scheme of things, right? Being intentional with how we're trying to use our time and finding ways to make our time work for us is great. That's kind of the goal. That's what we're looking for when we're working and homeschooling, because it can be a battle. There are lots of things we can do. Maybe one day we're doing a little less school so that you can get onto that extra client call that came up because you have a project coming up. Maybe you decide that, I'm going to homeschool in the evenings rather than the morning because, I'm working the early morning shift at a bakery somewhere. I don't know. Maybe you're doing 3 days during the week and 1 day on the weekend of schooling because you're not tied to the 9 to 5 Monday through Friday thing. The other thing that can happen is that like you kind of start to say like, hey, my house doesn't have to be perfect, but here are the must-haves that happen on a regular basis. So like down in this like play area where I film, I'm not expecting it to be perfect, but maybe upstairs, like I really focus on keeping the kitchen clean. Things like that. So you're just having different expectations when you're homeschooling. But what are some like practical strategies that make working and homeschooling feasible? Like what are some things that actually work? So here's some things that I have found work really, really well for me. Number one, time blocking. Time blocking is having very specific sets of time where you do a task. For example, for me, it's often 2 hours, 4 or 5 days a week that I do in the afternoon to run Raising A to Z. And that's what I'm doing. Okay. So those quiet time hours, 2 hour block, it's work time, right? But you can even go further than that. One of the things that I find most successful is giving those time blocks like a task. So you can do this in the morning too with your schooling. Have a time block in the morning that says, this is our seat work time. This is what we're doing in our seat work time. It's going to be 2 hours. Here you go. This is what we're doing. Boom. And then when that 2 hours is up, you're done. You're moving on. Okay. Maybe, and then in the afternoon, I do 2 hours of like work. But having a very clear block and using things like timers, do not disturb buttons are fantastic. Those can all be very helpful to give you kind of very clear, defined times, especially when you're like, I really need to focus and get this done, on the school side or on the work side. The other thing that I find really helpful for me in terms of getting work done as a work from home mom is having tasks that are done on certain days. So for example, just like having a routine helps you know what comes next, having kind of a routine for my work. So for example, I know that like Mondays, when I sit down to do Mondays, I'm writing, the first thing I look for is like writing emails and answering emails. So I'm obviously answer emails, but then the second thing that I do is I go through and I write out emails for both Raising AZ and True North. I'm writing out the emails that go out to subscribers and all of that kind of stuff, getting those set up and ready. And that's Monday. And I'll try to do those for like, sit down while I'm in the mode of like writing emails. I might do 2 or 3 or 4 emails for the month and be done. And then I have like another task that like while you're in the mode to do a task, do it. Right. So then the next day on Tuesdays, like I'll batch a bunch of social media and just like do a whole bunch of like the similar type job of like get a photo, make a caption, put the hashtags in, get a photo, get the caption, put the hashtags in. Because once you're kind of in the mode of doing one task, it's much easier to like do it a couple of times rather than like write an email. Okay, now do a social media. Okay, now we're going to like work on this. It's much easier like when you sit down to do one task and do it multiple times. And so sometimes having a routine like that can be really, really helpful. If you work from home, things that can be really helpful, having like headphones or do not disturb for your phone. I'm, a huge proponent of the do not disturb feature on my phone. I have it on there because I get lots of, I'm very much one of those people who likes to check, especially if someone texts me or if it comes in as like an Instagram message or whatever. And I will, if I see it, I'll be like, oh, okay, I got to answer it. I got to check it. Then I got to answer it. And then I feel bad if I don't like send someone like answer it right away, like, and give them an answer. So like if my mom texts and was like, hey, what's your recipe for chocolate chip cookies? As soon as I've opened it, I've got to go find it because my brain just works that way. And so now I'm on like a 10-minute, 15-minute side quest to answer my mom about chocolate chip cookies when it's like my 2-hour work block. So I actually just have like a do not disturb setting on my phone so that it doesn't show any notifications so that I don't know that message came in and it just helps me actually get things done because then I'm not answering text messages or YouTube comments during that 2 hours. As soon as the 2 hours are up, it pops up and I can answer them then. But when I'm in these like focused times, it does help me keep focused. Putting reminders on your phone can be really helpful. Timers, I love visual timers. Super helpful of getting things done. Headphones help keep things quiet or like microphones to help if you're doing client calls. Again, super helpful. I'm a big proponent of having some kind of space that you can go to that has all your stuff. It has a notebook, has your pens, has your and just make it really easy for yourself. It doesn't have to be fancy. My spot is on the couch. I have a corner where I sit down and I have like a sideboard that has pens and I keep my notebook up there and my laptop when it's charging, and when it's time to work, I just come sit down. I have everything right there to grab and I can get work done. Some people that'll be a desk. Sometimes that'll be like a little cart that comes to your dining room table or a workstation. Like whatever works for you, having a place where you keep all your stuff is very helpful. If you work from home, I think it's very important that your kids do some kind of quiet time or independent playtime or something that gives them time to be free and do what they want, but also gives you time to work. And when your kids are young, this will have to be, it's like a muscle. They have to get used to it. So like when they're really little, it's going to only be 30 minutes. And maybe you then have to turn to something like some screen time. Or maybe you have to have a friend come over or, only do your work on once your husband's home or something like that, right? As they get older and more independent and you can kind of leave them in the next room for a longer period of time, you realize that you can do more. So like now it's nothing for my kids to go and have 2 hours in their room playing magnet tiles. Like they're thrilled with that while I get 2 hours to write curriculum. or answer client calls or something like that, right? But having quiet time has been the game changer that actually has allowed me to work from home. If your kids are young or if they struggle with being independent, you might want to take some time and work on having some kind of quiet basket. So something that has things in it for them to do that comes out at a certain time. So maybe they only get magnet tiles during quiet time, or maybe you have like a puzzle, like your kids are really into puzzles and you pull out puzzles at quiet time and that's their quiet time activity. And once quiet time's over, it's gone. So it's kind of like a novelty thing. Audiobooks are a great option. Certain craft supplies, sticker books. I know my kids absolutely love what's it called? They're like a paint by number, but it's stickers. When they were like probably 5, 6, that was a huge thing that they loved and it was easy. So there's lots of different things you can pull out if you're like, my kids need something to do. But also I'm a big proponent of letting them be bored and letting them to figure out what to do with themselves. Kids need time to do that, and quiet time is a perfect time for that. So yeah, sometimes it's okay to let them be bored. If you are working outside the home and you need some tips, I would say be really flexible with your schooling hours. Because if you're working outside the home, or if you have a job that like dictates your work hours, you might not have the option of doing school when you want to do it. You might not have the option of doing school at 9 a.m. because that's when you have to be on the computer. Again, think about doing school before, think about doing school in the evening. Weekends are an option. Like, you're outside of the traditional schooling box, so you can do whatever you want. Use it to your advantage. Focus on the essentials. If you're like in a season, you're like, hey, this is really hard to get, math and science and history and geography and social sciences and language all at once, don't. Focus on the essentials. I always say focus on math and language if you can, and then add what you can until you're like, I'm maxed out. So if you're like, okay, right now we can only do 3 subjects really well, then do 3 subjects really well. It's better to do 3 well than 7 poorly, right? And again, we're working on the skill of building a love of learning rather than just like doing schoolwork for schoolwork's sake. So focus on 2 or 3 subjects rather than doing a whole bunch and not doing them well. And then the last thing I say is that I don't think enough homeschool parents think about is outsourcing help. There's lots of ways to outsource help as a working homeschooling parent. And sometimes it's the best thing that you can do for you and your family. Okay? Things you can outsource because you can't do everything. It is not your job to do everything. You are one person. Sometimes you need the village, and sometimes you have to build the village, and sometimes you have to pay the village, but the village, you need a village. So first off, if you have a partner, a spouse, find a way for them to help, right? Whether that is they take on doing a meal while you're on the phone twice a week, couple times a week. Maybe they teach a certain subject. Okay. My husband teaches music. I could hypothetically teach music, but he loves it. He's got a degree in music. So have at her. And it gives him something to do with the kids that is not my responsibility. I don't have to teach music. I don't have to find someone to teach. He can do it. Maybe your partner is really into science and wants to teach your kids astronomy, or maybe they really like history, or maybe they just are happy to take them on a walk once a week so you can have 2 hours or 3 hours to focus on something. Get your partner working with you, right? Homeschooling is a family decision, so all members of the family should participate. Just saying. Use other curriculum. We live in a world where there are so many curriculum options today, and that is a wonderful blessing. 10, 15 years ago, you didn't have a half of what we have nowadays. Okay. And I'm saying that honestly, there was not half of what we've got. There was very little in terms of independent stuff that you can do. Basically, everyone was using the same curriculums. It was few and far between. It was rough. And now we have so many incredible curriculum options out there that need parents to do very little. You can sign up your kids for online classes where someone teaches them for you, and will do things like Outschool and teach them how to do a thing and mark the assignments for you. You can sign your kids up for online schools where they have multiple subjects that your kids do online rather than you sitting here doing, all the teaching. Some of the classes are like, you can even sign up for like asynchronous classes where, the lesson's there and it's like a video you watch and then you do the lesson. There's like teaching textbooks is the math program where it's like a lesson and like you watch it and you do the work. There, like you as a parent get the report at the end of the lesson, but like you don't actually have to physically teach the lesson. That can be someone else's job. There's a lot of options out there today that exist and can take 1 or 2 subjects off of your plate. So like, do it. Maybe you want to send your kids to like a forest school 1 day a week. Maybe you sign them up for, some kind of after school program 2 days a week so that you have a couple time, something that to like an extracurricular where you can just like drop them off and leave for 2 hours. Oh my gosh, PD days. I love PD days as a homeschool parent. Why? Because I can send my kid to art camp for 8 hours for $35 or $40 and have a full day to do whatever I need to do for work. Glorious. Then the next PD day, we send them to jiu-jitsu camp. And then we send them to gymnastics camp. And then they get to try different things, science camp. And they're like 1-dayers. Just go try them out. If you didn't like it, you don't have to go back, right? Like use things, outsource that to someone else to try something new. Okay. You can also pay for help. And there's like different levels of this. But like, for example, you can pay like in our area, it's $1 to get your groceries picked up for you. So I go online, I order my groceries. I say, oh, I need this, and this. I'm going to pick it up after jiu-jitsu on this day. And I need it picked up ready for me between this time and this time. It takes me 10 minutes to make a grocery order. I don't actually have to walk through the store to do it. I literally, after jiu-jitsu, drive to the grocery store that's down the street, pop the trunk, and someone puts it in my car for me. And it costs me $1. It's $1 to pick up my groceries. I think it goes up depending on different peak seasons, but like $1, okay? And then it goes up from there. I know people who have paid for a babysitter once a week to come and help their kids, watch their kids while they have a work day. I know some people who do like a nanny share program. I have a friend who hires another friend's daughter to come to her house and watch her kids for 3 hours a week. So she hires this 12-year-old to come and watch her kids while she's doing different things in the house that like she needs to get done. It's great. The 12-year-old gets something to do. The little kids who are there love her. The mom gets to do what she needs to do. Like, yeah, it works, right? Just pay different people. I know some people who have mother's helpers who help them do different tasks. Some people send their laundry out. I pay for a cleaner. I've told so many people this, that it is the best thing I've ever done for my mental health. I pay for someone to come and wash my floors and wipe down my bathrooms every single week. Because otherwise, it would never get done. And I can attest to that because before we hired our cleaning lady 2 years ago, I can count on 2 hands how many times we washed the floors in 8 years. Like actually like did the full sweep, vacuum, wash the floors all at once kind of thing. Yeah, we'd spot clean, but like do a full thing. Never happens. Rarely happened. And so like now it happens on a regular basis. And because she's just cleaning the floors, we have to pick up. So like it works. It's been incredibly helpful. Let me tell you. So helpful. So like there are a lot of ways that you can hire out some help if you can afford it. And like I said, it can go for different amounts. You can everywhere from $1 to have someone pick up your groceries for you all the way up to time like $25 an hour to have someone come wash your house, wash your floors, or do like once a month like a big deep clean at your house. Like there's a lot of different options and it's totally okay. Like there's no guilt, there's no shame. We can't do it all. No one is asking us to do it all. And like mini feminist right here, no one's asking men to do it all. Because let's be real, most of the women here, no one's asking men to do it all. Right? So like we can outsource some things too. And that's okay. It's totally fine. We can do hard things, but also like we can ask for help. and asking for help is totally acceptable, especially when we are working and homeschooling and taking care of our house and trying to live healthy, well-adjusted lives as human beings as well. So I hope this helps. If you guys work from home or you work part-time while homeschooling, please leave some comments below, tips that work for you. Let's share the wealth, the knowledge, any other ideas that you might have. Help each other out here. I hope that you guys get the point that homeschooling and working is possible. Homeschooling and working can be done. It does take some give and take here and there. It does take finding some help sometimes, but it is very possible, and it can be a very rewarding and incredible thing to see and to do, to homeschool like your kids while also bringing in some income. It can be really, really awesome. My kids love it. When they come in and they're like, Mom, did you sell anything today? When I'm talking about like True North history, they're like, oh, you sold. I'm like, oh yeah, I sold a unit today. They're like, oh, that's so exciting. And they, it's good for them to see you being able to be successful at something that you like and that you're good at and making money off of that while also, doing all the things that you need to do for your family. And I think that's just like a really cool thing that everyone gets to do. Yeah, I hope you guys can find some balance when it comes to your homeschooling. If you guys have other ideas for balance videos or more questions, again, leave them below, send me a message. Always happy to answer them. And thank you so much for watching. Make sure you guys subscribe and click the bell to get notifications. If you are not YouTube members, consider becoming them, because you get bonus videos, you get coupons, you get early releases, you get some really cool stuff. And make sure you follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys next week.